All right, it's exactly 11 o'clock. I know we had over 200 registrants. We're gonna let them trickle in here. Hopefully more people will join. I'm gonna go ahead and start doing some introductions, go over some housekeeping rules, and then turn it over to our exciting and esteemed guest with us today, Ms. Kimberly Osborne, who is the Acting Executive Director of the VA OSDBU's office. So let me just start with quick introductions. Ms. Osborne, are you ready to go, or do you need a couple more minutes?
No, I am ready to proceed.
Okay, all right. Well, first of all, for those of you who joined on time, thank you for doing that. We appreciate you being here, and welcome to our monthly webinars on the different agencies that we invite. This month, we obviously have our Veterans Affairs with us, and whether you are a veteran-owned company or not, there are opportunities with the VA, and that's what we're going to learn about, how to do business with the VA. And more in depth, Ms. Osborne is very much aware that companies who attend our webinars are not first-time government contractors, that you are mature companies, you have done this for a while, and so the topic will speak more to growing your company within the VA. Before I get into the webinar, this webinar is being brought to you by the Asian American Chamber of Commerce. The Asian American Chamber of Commerce is a nonprofit. We are all volunteer members and board members of the chamber. We encourage you to join because the more members that come into our network, the better we are able to program and bring things that service your specific needs. While we primarily service companies in the Virginia, DC, and Maryland area, during the pandemic, our webinars just went all over the country. So we don't care where you are, as long as you are interested in the topic, you are doing business with the government, servicing our war fighters and our non-war, it doesn't always have to be war fighters. I keep saying that because I'm so used to doing business with the DoD. But any government agency that services our citizens. We appreciate what you do and the services that you provide and want to learn more about doing business with the different agencies. We encourage you to consider joining the Asian American Chamber of Commerce. There's several benefits, again, networking and collaborating with other members, teaming with each other, which is essential in government contracting, is one of the great benefits of being in this network. With that, let me introduce our guest today, Ms. Kimberly Osborne. I am not going to try and read your bio. I am so impressed. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to take out and what to leave in. So not to do injustice to you, but Ms. Osborne, why don't I turn it over to you to introduce yourself while I bring up your slides?
Okay, wonderful. I think out of everything in my bio, I think the most thing that I'm most proud of is that, not to say that I haven't done good, some good things through my career, but the thing that I'm most proud of is that I am the wife of one husband for 30 plus years. And that's the thing that really excites me. And I have the blessed privilege to have both of my parents still here and be able to serve them and to still gain from their wisdom and experience. They made a tremendous amount of sacrifices for me, and any opportunity that I can give them to make them proud, even at the age that I am now, I take full advantage of that. And so, what you see in the bio is just a result of the hard work and the sacrifices that my parents have made on my behalf. And that's pretty much the sum of who I am from a foundational purpose. So, as stated, my name is Kimberly Osborne. I am the Acting Executive Director for VA Office of Small Disadvantaged Business Utilization, also known as OSDBU. Many of you all already know this. And what does that mean as the acting? That means that my former boss is having a great time at the beach right now. And so that's how I became the acting OSDBU director. So what I like to do is let people know where we're going. And then to have like a journey map as far as what we're going to cover today. So today, I will begin this briefing with an overview of OSDBU and discuss the benefits of working with OSDBU. I'll share.
Ms. Osborne, before I move to the next slide, I just forgot to mention to the audience, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A box. Do not put them in the chat box because we're not checking the chat box for questions. So please submit all your questions in the Q&A box. In the chat box, please shamelessly network with each other. That's what you're here for. Exchange your contact information and network with each other. Who knows, you may be teaming up on the next VA opportunity. So with that, let me go to the next slide and turn back over to you.
Yeah, we can go ahead to the next slide. So we're gonna do a roadmap. We're gonna talk about basically give you a quick background synopsis on OSDBU. And then we're going to discuss the benefits of working with OSDBU. There are some tremendous benefits for working with OSDBU. And then I'm going to share VA's top spend areas along with best practices for doing business with VA. Next, I'm going to provide some new developments relevant to the small business community. And then we're going to wrap it up and we're going to go over a few of the resources that you may find helpful throughout your small business journey. And I think, hopefully the desire and the intent and the purpose is that along the way, I will answer some of your questions that you have about working with the VA and also dispel any myths about contracting with the department. So next slide, please. Okay, so just as far as background, every cabinet level federal agency has an OSDBU or an Office of Small Business Programs. And the law mandates that government agencies provide maximum practicable opportunities to buy goods and services from small businesses. And so when you think about this, you want, what that actually means is that you want we have the responsibility to have the highest level of opportunities that can be accomplished for small businesses. And typically these opportunities have been quantified by small business goals. And these goals are set by Small Business Administration, also known as the SBA. Okay, so with respect to the acquisition process, the Department of Veteran Affairs differs from all federal agencies. Given our mission, veteran entrepreneurs are given primary consideration when it comes to procurements. However, this is one of the first myth busters. However, this does not mean that VA only contracts with veteran-owned businesses. And to serve our veterans, especially our veterans who take advantage of of the 3 administration, our Veterans Health Administration, which basically encompasses thousands of hospitals and health clinics across the country as well as in the Philippines. Hundreds of national cemeteries where we honor those that have passed on, as well as our Veterans Benefit Administration, which provides the benefits that so many veterans deserve. So in order to do that, that's an extensive amount of work. It takes businesses of all types in order for us to properly serve our veterans. Okay, so just want to give you some background. The Veterans Benefit Healthcare and Information Technology Act of 2006, it provided VA with unique authority for service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses as well as veteran-owned small businesses. And what that did is it provided us to be able, the VA to provide set-asides and sole source contracts. So that is what I just described is known as the Veterans First Contracting Program. So what I want to establish is that VA, like any other federal agency or any other business for that matter, wants to buy the best products and services at the best price to support our veterans customers. This means that all contractors, I'm going to say this again, including veteran-owned small businesses and service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses, must submit competitive offers that respond to the solicitation requirements. And so the VA's acquisition strategies, including the determination to set asides, are substantiated by responsive and responsible findings. That means, for example, that to set aside work for a veteran-owned business, we ensure that the contract award will be consistent with all applicable laws and regulations, including prevailing wages, Buy America, cybersecurity, and limitations on subcontracting. So that means if you're a veteran-owned business, which is wonderful, and the VA will definitely want to assist, but you're going to have to show up and be more than just a veteran-owned businesses. There are requirements that no matter whether you're a veteran, has veteran status or not, that everyone has to abide by. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that's another myth busters that people think because I'm a veteran-owned business that I'm going to automatically get a contract with the VA. There are still requirements that have to be met with respect to that. Additionally, although we are veterans first, I want to say this again, we're not vets only. So that means, okay, so I'm not a veteran-owned business. I'm not a service-disabled veteran-owned business. I'm not a veteran-owned small business. So how can I do business with VA? And we have thousands of people who are not, who may not be a veteran-owned business, but they actually partner with a veteran-owned small business. So we encourage, if you want to do business with the VA, consider partnering, consider building relationships with a veteran-owned business. As small business owners, it is important to be flexible when it comes to seeking out opportunities for work. So if you want to do business with the VA, one of the best ways to do so is to partner and subcontract with a capable, service-disabled, veteran-owned small business. All right, next slide, please. So this slide here just talks about basic what our mission is, and which is to enable access to procurement opportunities for small businesses, and particularly those that are owned by veterans, controlled and owned by veterans. And so what we want to do is, OSDBU, we want to make sure our small businesses are positioned to have a level of success. So our services aim to help business owners understand the ins and the out of the acquisition process. So OSDBU is here to help you take advantage of the support services available both internally and external to the VA. So I just want to give some background information. Just to kind of like, you know, as you read my resume, part of my background is in the field of law. And so in the field of law, what's very important is that if you say something, you have to have some evidence to back it up. And so I just want to share a little bit of that evidence as far as our commitment to small businesses. In FY 2023, the department procured a record high of $12.8 billion in goods and services from small businesses. Again, that's just under $13 billion in goods and services from small businesses. So you can actually understand how small businesses inclusion is a key piece of how VA creates positive outcomes for its stakeholders. And our primary stakeholders, of course, are our nation's veterans, but also their spouses and their dependents, such as their children as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so I like this one right here, because one of the things that I like to do is not only provide some evidence, but also use every opportunity that I can to convince you to work with VA OSDBU. So you ready? Okay, you ready? I'm going to give you my best shot to do this. So strategically leveraging OSDBU resources will make you more competitive. I'm going to say that one more time. I hear somebody saying, hey, can you repeat that one more time? I'm going to say it one more time to make sure you have this right. Strategically leveraging OSDBU's resources will make you more competitive. All right, so remember what I said earlier. If I'm going to provide some evidence or some background as to why this statement is true. So OSDBU's goal is to make it easier for you to access. That is to gain entrance into contracting opportunities within the VA, specifically within the VA. So I'm going to use like a basic example as far as what I'm talking about. So let's just talk about generally about access. How many of you all like to save money? Well, I can't see you. I can just see you in my mind. That a lot of hands are like being raised. I don't know anybody who does not like to save money. I often see some of the rich and famous people, like you hear Oprah Winfrey, who bags up, brings home her leftovers, and you thinking, my goodness, she doesn't have to do that. She's like mega rich. But everybody, for that part, most part, like to save money. And let me ask you this next question. How many of you all have signed up for one of those like loyalty programs in a store, because that comes with the promise of you being able to save and get additional discount and coupons that can save you some money? All right. Well, again, I can see you in the virtual world just raising your hand. So what happens though is a lot of these discounted codes, they send them to your email. And I'm not sure about you, but what happens, some of these things come to my email and it gets buried. And so I don't even know that I have the code or a coupon. And so when I get to that store, I'm putting things in the cart, get to the clerk, put things on the counter, and I'm prepared to pay whatever the price is, not knowing that I have access to be able to save money. But let me tell you, the feeling is great when that clerk says, hey, are you part of the loyalty program? We sent a email coupon to you and you're going to get 25% off today. And guess what? Just having that knowledge alone is not sufficient to give me access to the savings. So what I had to do was I had to take that information that that clerk gave me. I had to open up my email. I had to search my email for that particular store and find that coupon. And then at that particular point, I then had to give her the coupon so I would have access to the savings. And so it is with a lot of businesses who do business with the VA. Some businesses don't have the knowledge to know how to have access to VA contracting. So that's why we're going to be here today to kind of share with you some basic information with respect to how to do that. You know, there's this saying that I think is just partially true. And that saying goes, knowledge is power. And I only think that's only partially true, because the knowledge is only powerful if you're able to use that knowledge for a beneficial effect. Just like the knowledge of me having a coupon or a coupon being sent, if I don't have any knowledge of that, if I had just stayed with the knowledge, the clerk told me, hey, it's in your email, you have this coupon to save money. And I was like, oh, good to know. And if I didn't act on that knowledge, no savings. I would not have access to the saving. So what I want, where you might hear some information that I'm going to share with you today, some of it might sound familiar, but I want you to listen to the information a little differently. I want you to listen to the information, not just for information's sake, not just for knowledge's sake, but through the lens as far as what am I going to do with the information given? How can I include this information in my strategy, right? So that it will position me in a position to do business with the VA. All right. So some of the things you say, oh, I already know that. I mean, in the beginning, before we got started, was made mention of the fact that a lot of you all have been in this government contracting, have been in business for a while, so you're mature businesses. And one of the things that I see that can happen with some mature business is that the potential to move off of the foundation that has given you the level of success where you are now. And so I think these are opportunities, these sessions like this is opportunities for you can take basic and simple concepts and then be able to elevate them based on where you are today so that you can go to that next level, a higher level of success. Does that make sense to you all? So you take the information, because this information I'm going to give you, it is foundational, but if you've been in business for a while, you can elevate that information to make it part of your strategy for today to take you to that next level. Okay. Okay. So, what I want to also share with you is that I think I know when I've been guilty of this, and maybe some of you all have done this as well. Well, I will go to training, whether it's training on leadership, whether it's training on to be, retirement benefits and things such as that nature, whatever it is, that information, there's no, I like to say it like where I'm going to give you some information, there's no like jeopardy for, acquisition or doing business with the VA, meaning that you're not going to get $200 for everything that for every question that you could answer with respect to acquisition and the VA, which meaning that the only way that what I'm going to share with you today will be a benefit for you today is if we move into application. All right, so I'm going to move into application now. So I'm going to transition into how do we help you with accessing VA contracting opportunities. And we do this in a few important ways. First, we keep you informed and educated on best practices for doing business with VA and changes to the procurement process. So that's the first thing. That goes to knowledge, right? Information, giving you knowledge, but we can't stop there because there has to be an application of that knowledge. And we help you to be able to put in practice some of that application. And so when we come here into these settings, we have to come in. I'm not going to be able to individually work with each business in this type of setting because this is going to be like a broad overview. But I do have a team that's specific that can meet with you if you so desire and to help you be able to put some of this knowledge into your strategy so that you can go to that next level. And so one of the ways that we accomplish this by sharing this information, keeping you informed, is we continually educate and we provide training needs of the small business community. So no matter where you fall in that spectrum, just like as individuals, we have to constantly grow, constantly take in information and knowledge, and then have that on a loop, take that knowledge and then apply it, and then apply it at a higher level, and then apply it at another higher level. So that's what we do, and we help you be able to do that. Our office hosts in-person as well as virtual presentations that prepare firms to do business with the VA. Not only that, we offer a doing business with VA guide and a VA procurement readiness. And the guide is to familiarize firms with the department's acquisition practices. And we maintain a web page that features a whole library of on-demand multimedia training material. So you can access that materials at your leisure anytime you want to because it's right there on the web page. And guess what? Each of these resources, this is my optimal word, each of these resources are free of cost to you. See, this is where my husband can identify. He can identify with free. Me trying to explain that I'm saving him money by using the coupon, he can't relate to that. So he said, you're still spending money. But for these resources, each of these resources are free. So with this knowledge, you can establish effective strategies. I want to go back to that. Think about the strategies and always perfecting your strategies, no matter if you're a new business or you've been in business for several years, or you're veteran business. You can use this knowledge. Think about how you can establish effective strategies in responding to solicitation. The second thing that our office provides you with, we can go back to slide 5. I'm still on slide 5 for now. The second thing our office provides you with is ways to engage with procurement decision makers in other small businesses. So our events give entrepreneurs the opportunity to build relationships with VA buyers. And not only that, it gives opportunities to learn about industry-specific procurement requirements and to connect with other companies to form joint strategies for subcontracting and teaming opportunities. And by networking with procurement decision makers, you can learn about VA's upcoming requirements. And then you learn about them firsthand. You don't have to hear it on the street, or you learn about it firsthand. You're sitting right across the table, and then you can obtain answers to your biggest questions. So what I like to tell businesses, especially for those that are mature businesses, is that come prepared. If you come to one of our events in which you have the opportunity to sit before one of the procurement decision makers, come prepared to talk about your business, what your offerings are, and how you are able to meet a specific need that the VA has, especially as it pertains to maybe within our in health or benefits or cemeteries or in support of those efforts. So engagement opportunities, they make it so much easier also for procurement decision makers to perform market research where they can meet with you in person. So that helps them out as well. Additionally, meeting and networking with other small businesses can lead to greater options for winning contract awards. So as you come out to some of our events, I think a lot of times the efforts are spent trying to get in front of procurement decision makers. But I think equally as important is an opportunity, if you're not a veteran-owned small business, to start that networking with some veteran-owned small businesses, so that can expand your scale and scope to be able to get into other areas and start to do business with the VA. Finally, we are here to answer all your questions and direct you to other resources that are available. Even if a contract is not ours, we will do our best to connect you with the right point of contact as far as who can assist you. And if it's not a VA contract, we'll direct you to the appropriate agency for small business office. If it is a VA contract and your business wants to know more about government-wide acquisition contracts, also known as GWAC, or indefinite delivery, indefinite quality options, we refer them to the agency small business office that manages the GWAC, IDIQ, or their advisors with the Apex Accelerator. We also make referrals out to the Small Business Development Center or our two small business liaisons. So we have a host of resources that we can help you to identify. So we can leave the slide right here. So if you see on what's on the slide right now, this is a snapshot of the VA spend from last fiscal year. So VA top yearly contract spend tends not to change. The dollars for each NAICS code may change and the rank order may change, but just generally, VA purchasing is consistent from year to year with some exceptions. And so you see here is the list of top industry codes where the small business have a high participation rate and where there are significant opportunities with VA. So just to give you a summary of what those opportunities are that you see on the screen here, you can see opportunities in construction, information technology, and administrative services tend to place at the top of the list when it comes to small business opportunities at the VA. So understanding what the department buys will help you streamline your capability statements and focus your offering to buyers. So if your business capabilities falls within any of these NAICS codes above, now is the time to get procurement ready and compete for contracts. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the part that I like. Okay, we're going to start off. We're going to give you some practical ways to get started. And these practical tips, whether you are a new business, a business has been in business for a few years, or you are established, these tips can work for you as well. You would use the tips where you are in your business. That means, so if you're a mature business, then you would elevate it. You can do this at a higher level. Okay, so one of the things I say often is to do your market research. Know the need, understand your industry, competition, and potential clients. And so just to give you an example of what I'm talking about, over the summer, I loved watching the Olympics. And not just the actual sporting event itself, but I love the backstories of each of the athletes that they would give as they're commentating or they're doing before the event actually started. And what I liked about the backstory is that they shared the level of preparation that they did with respect to put them in position to even be at the Olympics, and not just be at the Olympics, for many of them to compete at the highest level. And so what you'll hear, especially in those team type of events, you would hear how the coach would get to know the strengths and weaknesses of her individual or his individual players. And then they will also get to know who they were anticipating, who they were going to, their competitors, what were their strengths and what was their weaknesses, and how they could leverage and get the advantage based on their strengths and their abilities, so that in the end they can bring home the gold. And such it is as far as businesses, right? And that can apply to no matter whether you're small, medium, or I mean a new business. You've been in there for a few years, or whether you've been in there for decades. That's still a strategy that you can use no matter where you are, and you're just able to elevate it. And so I think when I look at business just in general, it should mirror what we saw as far as how what we saw in the Olympics and the athletes and how they prepared to be successful. And I believe that with businesses is a similar preparation process with respect to the preparation. Another tool that you could use is use VA's Pathfinder. Hopefully you all are familiar with that. And you can learn about our current and our upcoming VA requirements. And you can submit your company's capability statements and innovative ideas directly to the VA office, where interest in specific services or products is the highest. And I believe my last slide, it will refer you back to how you're able to get to the what I'm talking about, the VA's Pathfinder tool. And then another tip is that the respond to sources sought and request for information found on sam.gov. VA uses this information to determine when to set aside contracts. With these responses, there are two common challenges our acquisition professionals see when it comes to working with small businesses. The first is responsiveness. The second is responsibility. And so we need more small businesses to respond to RFIs, requests for information, and sources sought, because the more responses we get, the better we can understand small business capabilities and then develop well-informed procurement strategies. This is where I think some of the mature businesses will have an opportunity to do this. We also benefit from having a diverse supplier base that is representative of our customers. So I urge you to be responsive. Now, let's talk about responsibility. Now, this part is within your control. This means responding to solicitations with attention to detail. And and believe it or not, it is just not the new businesses that might suffer or fall privy to this as far as not paying attention to the details. But often there are also mature businesses that do the same. So pay close attention to the solicitation instructions. If it says you must respond using size 12 Arial font by December 31st, 2024, then I suggest that you don't respond using anything else but the 12th font. So don't use 6, don't use Times New Romans, although that might be people's favorite, and don't submit it on January the 1st. You're thinking, oh, but it's so close. It is the holiday season. No, so make sure that responsibility part, that you do all that you can do. The likelihood that your response will be considered plummets if oversights are made. So therefore, pay close attention to the detail. This goes back to something I said earlier. Never forget those foundational things that allowed you to get to the level of success that you currently have, and use that to continue to build upon that level of success. And so make sure that you're being responsible and following the guidelines as set out in the solicitation. I think this is my next tip, I think this is a perfect opportunity for small businesses, or for all businesses, but I mean for seasoned businesses, I'm sorry, to consider partnering and subcontracting when appropriate. This gives you more flexibility to expand your client base when prime opportunities may be challenging to obtain. And that's especially true to connect with some other information and knowledge that I gave you. If you're not a service disabled veteran owned small business, or you're not a veteran owned business, seek to partner with a firm who is certified. And so that will give you opportunities to not, to enter these teaming relationship that will give you opportunity and create a path for you to have success in VA contracting. The other one, another tip that I like to use, especially, and this is going to make it easier, SBA is going to make it easier for you to do this, is to become certified in multiple social economic categories. So whatever that you qualify for, get qualified in those things. And if you go into SBA site, they currently have an initiative in which it's now just one application process, and you don't have to do separate application. So if you're SDBU, service disabled veteran owned small business, if you're women as well, if you're HubZone, if you're also 8A, you can do all of those certification, get them all at the same time with one application. And so you say, well, why does that matter? So applying for multiple certification, what that does is it increases your appeal to prime contractors seeking various type of small businesses for their subcontracting plans, as well as having multiple certification. It gives VA and its prime contractors multiple reasons to do business with you. And then it also, so those are the main reasons. The other tip I want to give you is to build relationships with VA procurement decision makers. Build relationships with VA procurement decision makers. All right, this is easily done by attending our virtual or in-person events that's hosted by one of our OSDBU components. And so when you do this, you're able to strike up conversation with the procurement decision makers. And this is the best way to learn what they require and how best to serve their needs. So for the established businesses, this is an area where you can just knock it out the park, where you can really impress and really land like an awesome, excellent first impression, so that they want to know more regarding how you can help them solve a need or solve a problem that VA currently has. So come prepared, use the information like in the top 10 spend areas. And if your capabilities align, that's what you go in with. One of the things that I see that business of all many years, some of the common mistakes that's made is that, one, they'll just recite just a laundry list of things that they do with no nexus statement as to how they can help the VA. Another, I think, missed opportunity is when they're in front of decision makers. They'll share like name, I call it, for lack of a better word, name dropping, who they've actually done business with, without demonstrating what they brought to the table and what was the impact of doing business with some of these companies that are well known. So what value did you add, and how was the value that you added in that company going to be relevant to how you do business with the VA? Okay, so when you get in front of the procurement decision maker, those are some of the tips that I would suggest that you make. Be prepared. Make sure that you're not just reciting just a laundry list of your abilities, what you can actually do, but actually link it, which means you're going to have to do your homework to understand what VA is buying, what the need is, or where there's a gap and where there's opportunities for you to fill that gap and solve that problem. So that's the background work that a lot of the Olympic athletes did, is that unseen work, but that it gives you so many opportunities to win and to take home the gold. The other tip that I have is to take advantage of VA OSDBU resources. With our website and social media accounts, you can access comprehensive guides on doing business with VA. and procurement readiness, as well as webinar recordings on topics that dive deeper into navigation of the VA acquisition process. Next slide, please. So what I gave you as far as these tips, I like to consider, these are, if anybody took a class or whatever in high school or college, these are what I consider cliff notes. So for the few minutes that I'm here with you this morning, that's not going to be enough to get you to win the gold or get you enough to be in a position to be ready to be able to do business in VA. You're going to have to take a step back and start applying some of this knowledge and digging deeper, peeling back the onion and getting deeper to create a strategy based on the information and the resources that you now have at your disposal to see how you can leverage and position yourself to be able to do business with the VA. So slide 8, we want to share some small business updates. Here are some 2024 small business updates. I mentioned earlier that VA spent $12.8 billion with small firms in FY23. This number represents a record high for small business inclusion in the department's procurements. We also had hit record highs with total procurement for our service disabled veteran-owned small business, our veteran-owned small business, hub zone, our small disadvantaged businesses. So we ran the gamut, small businesses just generally. More than ever before, opportunities for economic growth are present with VA. So I implore and encourage you today to take advantage of the opportunity. To win contracts, businesses must be strategic in your approach. And a rule of thumb for making sales is to know your customers. I've said that earlier. Firms who do well in government contracts, contracting align, not just government contracting, but especially when you're talking about the VA. And the fact is, the VA, we buy almost everything. You think about what we do. We serve every component, from the benefit aspect to the health aspect to the final resting place of our nation veterans, and then all the support and technology and so forth that it takes to support those efforts. So what you want to do, you want to people who do well with the VA align. What they do is align their offerings with the needs of the VA. And I just shared the top VA spend areas for small businesses. And so now that you know what the department is buying, align your capabilities and start competing. So VA, we're working diligently to increase access to VA contracts for small businesses to include underserved small business owners. And we have met and exceeded several of our equity goals and that we have planned for the year. And the evidence as far as what I'm saying and as far as our commitment is that our office has provided over 150 training and networking opportunities this fiscal year to date. And so to create equity, OSDBU has also pushed for structural change, and VA has spearheaded a legislative proposal to move up the women-owned small business to the 3rd tier in the order of preference for VA acquisition. This proposal was included in the president's budget. Right now, women-owned small businesses are presently on tier 4 of preference. This means that there is no codified rule for inclusion. The good news is that we have started off. We had a Senate bill that covers this area. And then we also recently have a corresponding House bill. So we need those things to come together, and they're pretty much similar. And we need this to come to a vote so that this can become law, so that everybody in the small business world can have an opportunity. So the current guidance that we have with respect to women-owned small business prescribes only due deference to the priority for awarding to women-owned small business. So the good news is, if this is approved, this change will allow women-owned small businesses to be considered for more opportunities along with 8A and hub zone firms. And this move will expand opportunity for certified women-owned small businesses. Being certified as a women-owned small businesses provide advantages in VA contracting. However, unlike any other socioeconomic category, it does not guarantee a contract award. We got to do the work. We got to follow some of those tips and things such as I talked about earlier. We have to go back to those foundational things that allowed us to have a level of success and elevate it and become more strategic in how we apply it, because just the knowledge in and of itself will not do you any good. It's the ability to apply that knowledge to have a beneficial effect, and the way that you get there is to be strategic in your approach. So to increase your competitive edge, become certified for every social economic category for which you qualify. Also, doing so will enhance the strength of your bid submission, because VA acquisition professionals tend to include capable firms which satisfy multiple social economic categories within their procurement strategies. So if you're not eligible for inclusion in a given social economic category, consider finding a firm who is certified in another category so that you may form teaming relationships. For example, if you're not a women-owned business, women-owned service disabled veteran-owned small business, find a firm who is and add your experience to theirs so that both parties may mutually benefit from the submission of a highly competitive bid. So submitting a competitive bid, it has its challenges, but you have help in the form of VA personnel, i.e. OSDBU, and online resources. And OSDBU is only one of those resources. You'll see at the slide that we'll go to, you'll see we have a host of resources. And one of those such aids that, as far as a resource, is the Enhanced Forecast of Contracting Opportunities, or FCO, with VA. And this revamped Forecast of Contracting Opportunity tool is a user-friendly resource which contains the most up-to-date information on VA's planned future expenditures. The department's aim is to provide small firms an adequate lead time, meaning 12 to 18 months ahead of solicitation, so that you can properly strategize for acquisition, so that you can properly team and partner with whoever you need to partner and team with, so that you can position yourself to have these greater opportunities. And so this enhanced forecast of contracting opportunity tool has been recognized by the Government Accounting Office and houses opportunities for multiple federal agencies. While VA is the largest agency represented in the enhanced forecast thus far, be on the hunt for contracts from smaller government departments as well. So they're adding to a lot of people. There's an initiative to get most federal agencies on this platform. So you'll have a one-stop shop to just not only look at VA opportunities, but opportunities across the federal government. And so performing well on those smaller contracts as well is an important piece of moving on to larger federal projects. And so we're going to continue to identify opportunities to present information on VA procurements with internal and external stakeholders. So next slide. So here we go. The next slide, we go to slide 9. If you see here, we have some helpful links offered from the VA OSDBU website. And these resources are provided at no cost to you. And remember that the best way to start doing business with VA is by becoming procurement ready. So I invite you to explore the range of resources OSDBU offers to gain insight into how to do business with VA. Contracting success, actually, it just begins with correctly responding to sources sought and requests for information. And VA uses details derived from these resources to determine when to set aside contract. You know, I said that earlier. I can't beat that drum enough. Finally, remember to register on sam.gov. It is the place to find information on not only just government-wide contracting opportunities, but specifically VA. And so if you see here on the resource of the slides, that's a host of information right there. It's enough information for you to really digest and to see how you can take that information and put together a strategic plan as far as how you can have a competitive edge into being able to do business with the VA. So you can go to the next slide, please. So I hope that now you have a better understanding of how to navigate through the VA acquisition process and how my office can support your business efforts. So if you have any questions, I will be happy to take them now.
Well, that was a wealth of information. I hope people were taking copious notes. And I do want to thank Mr. Brandon for staying current with you and posting those web links as you were talking about them.
Okay.
So that was very, very useful. And hey, I hope I'm pronouncing these names correctly. Kamara and Tim. I've been watching the chat and I'm glad that you guys are teaming up with each other. That's what the networking is for. I'm glad you found each other there. So folks, if you would like to submit questions, please do so in the Q&A box. I do have a few questions that were submitted earlier, and I'm going to ask. Some of them are my own and some that came in when people registered. So I'll start. It's a mix of questions, and let me start with one common question that we get asked all the time. How do I get a sole source award? What do I need to do, and when do I need to begin my marketing process in order to result in a sole source contract? What advice would you give them, Ms. Osborne?
Okay, so I also have my team that spends a lot of time. I'm going to introduce Wendy Bray. Wendy, are you on the line?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Wendy. So
Yes, I'm on the line.
I'm going to pass the baton, and I'm going to let Wendy take this question. She is one of our OSDBU superstars, and whatever she cannot address, she knows how to point you in the right direction so that you can get the answer.
All right.
Thank you. To address the question, the VA prefers competition because it generally, will bring better pricing, but they do have the authority to do sole sourcing. So I recommend for the business to submit their capabilities to Pathfinder. I believe Curtis added it in the chat earlier before I joined. So submit your capabilities and your information to Pathfinder. And if it meets what the buyer is looking for, someone will be in contact.
Okay.
It's like family food. Good answer, good answer, good answer.
All right. In terms of budget for next year, we're seeing majority of the agencies where their budgets are either staying the same or they're actually cutting budgets. What can we expect for the VA in the next fiscal year?
So that's funny that you asked that. We have a great leader in our secretary, and so he's always championing, making sure that our needs are met from a budgetary standpoint. And so what I think a better question is, as far as how businesses can really use the information, would be to look at our budget, to pull that information up. And you ever heard the phrase "follow the money"? So if you see, if it's in the budget, more likely than not, we're going to be following through with, there's going to be some opportunities there. And I think that the better way to think about the budget is not thinking about whether VA has X amount of billions of dollars increase or decrease, but to think about it in terms of what has been approved for VA going forward. And then if your capabilities align with that, start using Pathfinder, start getting in there now, coming to our events and selling what you have to offer and how that's going to meet the need. And it's not just meeting some abstract need, it's meeting a need that's already been funded.
So study that budget very carefully once it gets approved.
Right. Anything else you want to add to that, Wendy?
No, what you stated, I agree with. So it's best to just look at all the information that's basically coming out, like Ms. Osborne stated. We don't have that information to provide right now. So if you want to use it as a marketing tool to be able to identify how you will approach the potential, customers or approach VA in the future, looking at previous budgeting, looking at previous solicitations, how we were buying before. Usually I do recommend for businesses to look at the past 3 years, although with COVID in 2020, if you want to do, go further in doing your market research, look further out to see how we were buying before then. When 2020 came, of course, there was a decrease in a lot of our spending in certain areas. So again, looking at 21, 22, 23, if you see those numbers now going up and there's still a need for it, then that'll help you to project what fiscal year 25 and fiscal year 26, what VA will be looking to solicit for.
That's a good tip. So you don't have to wait till it gets approved. You can forecast and see what the spending was. Thank you for that. Now there's some questions in the Q&A. I'll jump to that here. Does the VA have a mentor protege program?
No, we don't have a mentor protege program, but we do work with, we refer people to the SBA's program.
Okay. Another simple question, can a nonprofit qualify as a small business to become a vendor for the VA?
Can a
Nonprofit qualify as a small business?
And how, okay, I guess maybe, can you give me some, I'm trying to figure out what would that look like?
Eric, this is your question. You may want to clarify. I'm presuming that they're probably offering housing for our veterans or some services to our veterans, but they are a nonprofit, not a regular or for-profit small business, and they want to know if they can bid on small business opportunities. And
I think the very nature that you're bidding on a contract, meaning that there's a financial aspect. I'm not sure about how that really works. Wendy, do you know that?
That I would recommend for them to speak with the small business development centers. As a nonprofit, there are opportunities for grants. I know you mentioned homeless, like providing housing, to homeless veterans. So VA has partnered with HUD to, it's a program called HUD Bash. I'm not the subject matter expert for that program. So if you just go to your search engine and type in HUD dash VASH, that is a program where VA does provide grants and funding to those individuals or, a business that is willing or able to provide housing to homeless veterans. So that would more so be on the grant side. If you're contracting, it's for profit, you will be making money. So on the contracting side, there may be also some opportunities that are there. But as far as your business designation, I'm going to refer you back to speak with your advisors, because they'll know a little bit more information than what we have for you as far as how to designate, or, what you should designate your business as, whether, sole proprietor, LLC, nonprofit, and how it fits in with your business plan as far as, your business ventures.
Right. So, one of our mission is to provide economic security for our small businesses and nation veterans. So I would definitely, reach out to those resources that Wendy has, because what we do with VA OSDBU is to have economic security for our small businesses.
Perfect, thank you. There's a question here that says, this person has been trying to would like to move freight for the VA. The regional offices said it is a national level decision. What advice would you give a freight forwarding company or a freight moving company on how they can service VA?
So, okay, so they're too small to be able to do the national contract. And so there are also regional opportunities. So maybe you got to think about the scale with respect to maybe does your capability meet the regional requirements? Wendy?
Yeah, just to clarify, this person apparently met with regional VA offices who referred him, saying that it is a national level decision. So just
is that just one contract?
Yeah.
So I would work.
Sure. I'm sorry.
I would use the resources that we have on. I think where is that page? Yeah. So The one before, I think, is it the one before that, the resource page? That one. I think that's the page that it has on here where you can reach out to. Do we have the small business liaison on this page? I don't see it. You can reach out to one of the VA small business liaisons, or let me see, Pathfinder. Okay.
Mr. Brandon did just post the Q&A small business liaison web link. So for those of you who
Okay,
are
great.
looking, he
Told you
did
my
post.
team is great. I think that can help you.
And I know we're getting to the top of the hour. I hope you can spare a few more minutes for us because we have a lot of questions that we still want to ask, but I'd like to get more sort of high level questions, right? Two questions I'm going to combine together. Companies prepare their capability statements and feel like agencies, like a lot of recruiting companies or hiring companies, use AI versus humans reading their capability statements. So what would be your advice on capability statements? What does the OSDBU office want to see, and what do your buyers want to see on that capability statement other than pretty pictures?
Oh, I see Wendy's hand. Ooh, because I've seen her in operation. She sits down with small businesses and she walks them through their capability statements and she offers that type of advice. So Wendy, can you give us a high level, kind of like what you actually share with small businesses with respect to capabilities and what VA buyers are looking for?
Yes, so 5 key characteristics that we focus on, and we actually have a training on our YouTube channel. Curtis, if you could place that in the chat for them, I would greatly appreciate it. Past performance, your contact information, business information, business data, your differentiators, and information about your company. And I feel like I may be missing something when I said the five key components. But past performance is a big piece. It really helps for them to be able to identify that your business is capable of being able to perform. The reason I mention past performance is because there may be a lot of businesses, especially starting out, that do not have past performance for their business, but they have the skill, they have that experience from past performance of working, as a W-2 employee with an organization or an agency or another business. And so you want to make sure that when you're documenting, your information on your capability statement, that you are documenting it in the sense that you're stating whether or not it was personal experience or it was your business experience. As far as your company data information, Ms. Osborne mentioned before about your socioeconomic classifications. I can't speak to an AI reading because I know from personal experience, we sit there and we read those ourselves. So speaking from a perspective of having to read, let's just say a bunch of capability statements, maybe over 50, over 100, you want your information to stand out. And so again, if you go back and look at our training, you'll see that it touches on those 5 key characteristics. It touches on how to explain or document that information using metrics. You say, and I'll stop here, but use an example, we're the greatest in the business. How are you the greatest in the business? You want to be able to inform them what makes you the greatest in the business. After you've done your competitive analysis and looked at your competitors that are already doing business with VA, why should VA purchase your product? Why should they purchase your service? If they're already doing business with your competitors, identifying that information, whether it's in percentages of, we can produce this, 5% faster. That's information, that's examples of information that you should include in your capability statement. And I'll turn it back over.
Yeah, when you talk, I just want to real quick, if you talk about differentiators, typically what gets buyers' attention is differentiators as it pertains to either quality or timeliness. Over.
Thank you. And so quantitative metrics to support your claims. Don't just claim something and not back it up with where and how you have achieved some of those differentiators. The one of the things you mentioned was the procurement decision makers, to meet with the procurement decision makers. What are your tips for companies? How do they come prepared to these meetings so they're not just generically talking about their capabilities? And do you advise them to meet these procurement decision makers more than just once?
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna give you one of those like attorney answer. It depends. With respect to the latter half of your question. But yeah, so one of the things I made mention of is that, yeah, I'm glad that, thank you, whoever asked that question, with respect to, understanding, and when you're talking to a procurement decision maker, understanding their need, especially we have like industry type days, right? So you're in a tech, we have industry technology days or construction or even pest control. Something is like it's as small as like pest control. We have these industry days. And so you show up to these industry days, you're already in a an industry, right? So, and you're showing up because this is your industry. And so at that point in time, not only showing up, at that point in time, know what VA is, what VA needs in that particular industry, right? Do that background search with respect to looking at prior solicitation, looking at the current forecast of contracting opportunity to see what's going to be forecast, looking at the budget, things such as that nature, seeing where there's some problems and seeing how what you offer can be the solution to that problem. Can you think about how much more powerful and impactful that is as as opposed to handing me or just reciting your brochure?
And in terms of meeting with them more than once?
Meeting with them, one, I said it depends on, I guess, the
Okay.
industry. Sometimes you only need one to hit it out the park, right? You just need that one pitch, and then boom, it's gone. It's a home run. So I think it depends. If you come strong the first time, you might not need a second meeting. That might be the
Right.
one. And sometimes you gotta go in it with the mindset that you may only get one opportunity.
Right. And then again, you mentioned your forecast. Look at those forecasts for opportunities and come specifically to discuss those opportunities versus, as you said, read out your brochure to them, because you probably see 50 to 100 and at some point they all start looking the same.
Right.
And this is my last question, unless there are more in the Q&A, which I don't think they're going to stop. But in terms of IDIQs and GWACs, first of all, trends. Do you see VA using more GSA and the NITACs and those for purchasing, or is VA leaning more towards agency level IDIQs? Where do we see the pendulum swinging?
That's a good question. I don't know which way. I can't tell you offhand, like numerically. With respect, I don't have that data at my fingertips. Wendy, are you online? Do you have access to that data? Or Curtis, do you have access to that data? I think they might have had to fall off.
Okay.
We can take that question and get you that information.
Yeah,
We can
that would
take,
be very useful. We're seeing
yeah.
agencies sort of steer away and go more towards agency level IDIQs because they feel like they have more control over what they're purchasing than the GSA GWACs.
That's, yeah, that is a good question. So I'll have to take that one for action.
Okay, and I said it was my last question, but in the Q&As, there's a request for, well, I was gonna say there's a request for Miss Wendy's information, and Curtis has already given the information. So I
Yes.
think that's about all the time we have. You've been very gracious staying back longer. Thank you so much. A wealth of information, and I hope that everybody takes advantage of all the information you have provided. Like you said, it's great to learn, but until you implement, it's not worth anything, right?
That's right. It's not worth it. It's like that coupon buried in my email. It has no effect.
Well, I'll let you do the closing remarks and get the last word in. Any advice as you're
Yeah,
leaving?
so I just want to thank you for having us. I love an opportunity anytime I can share why you should do business with the VA. I think we have one of the best missions ever. And so when we can partner with people to help us, businesses to help us in serving our nation veterans and their dependents, that's an awesome thing. Thank you. Good things go out to Wendy and Curtis. I love that team. That team has so much heart and such, and you can't teach that. it's like you have to hire for it. They are passionate about their service to small businesses and making sure they have what's necessary so that everybody can have, all the small businesses can be positioned for economic security with respect to their businesses. So thank you for having us. We appreciate the partnership.
And thank you again to the entire VA team for being here. Thank you to our audience for being here. I hope you
Great
consider
audience,
joining.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
please consider joining the Asian American Chamber of Commerce. And again, even if you're not a member, come visit us again for our future webinars. Join and learn from us. So thank you all for being here. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.